Hey folks, this is Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge. I had to look over to make sure I grabbed the right thing from the table. Today we're taking a look at this knife. This is the Ruike P865. Brand new knife for 2018. Just came out at the end of April. Now it is May the 1st, and I'm recording the review of this Ruike knife on the very first day of the month. This is the most budget of the three new folders that just came out. I don't know if they're going to have some more new knives coming out for 2018 or not, but these are the end of winter ones, and they have chased away the winter blues big time. All three of these knives, if you saw the unboxing, have an awesome cutting edge. The best cutting edge I've seen on any budget knife from a factory ever. Better than most factory edges on premium knives that I've seen. Like I've seen knives that are $400, $500, $600, $700 US dollars, Canadian dollars, who cares at that price, that don't have an edge, as nicely polished as this. Of course, not all of them, but I've seen those. And wow, that tells you something about what Ruike is starting to do. And they're starting to do what they've always been doing, I should say. They've only been around, what, 2-3 years now? And they're doing a top quality job at a budget price. You're talking about their knives are generally about 2/3 the cost of real steel knives at very much the same quality. Their selection is quite a bit lower. The company's a whole lot younger. Real steel has been around, I think, 9 or 10 years. And this is, going on their third year, I think, second or third. And so it's a growing young company. This is an in-house design, the P865, as far as I can tell. I did see on one website that there's a P865-W, which would be a brownish, light tannish stone, not stonewash, but a light tanny brownie kind of colored G10 handle scale instead of these black ones. That all you can find right now in stores are these black handle scales. And this is a light knife. It's a gentleman's folder. It has a few sort of tactical nods to it. The way this tip is made is one of those, it's an homage to a tactical style, but it's clearly a gentleman's folder. It's light like a gentleman's folder, but it's also very well made at the same time. So I think you're going to want to stick around for the full review of the P865-B by Ruike Knives. And it's available for purchase right now. So watch this. Okay, flips open so smoothly, and it does it without ball bearings, just like knives did for dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of years. Now, the folding knife is a really old thing. But the modern folding knife, i.e. liner lock, back lock, frame lock, and the dozens of newer locking designs since then, that's a fairly new thing. And that's also around the same time when they started getting into making smoother and smoother pivots. And this knife here has got a very simple washer system. You have thin phosphor bronze washers used in conjunction with Teflon washers. And the action is just great. Smooth action. They put, decent wide washers in there that are quite thin. There's no blade play, side to side, up and down, rock solid, and very smooth action. Just flies open with a light flick of the wrist. The detent holds it quite well, and very, very smooth knife. You've also got some good skeletonizing in there, especially on the opposite side. You can sort of see it on that side right there. Let me take this knife apart and show you the insides right now. Okay, so you can see those washers now. You saw them fairly close up. You also saw, the skeletonizing on there. That's why this knife is so very, very light. We're talking 70 grams, 70. That's 2.45 ounces, not even 2.5 ounces. So you've got a full-size blade. Yes, this is well over 3 inches. And you've got, not even 2.5 ounces. nice and thin design. Yes, I'm calling this a gentleman's folder all the way. Made in China by Ruike. There's a few really good factories in China, and this factory that's doing this production is I'm calling it the best factory in China, especially for budget knives. We don't know who the designer is. I believe it's just in-house design that made this, and it's called the P865-B, as I've mentioned a couple times. You've got the name on the bevel of the blade right there, not too large. Serial number 8 down there. You can register the knife. It has a 5-year warranty on it. That's parts and labor. On a budget knife, yes, on a budget knife, you've got 5 years. That's just a great warranty, and then lifetime after that on your parts. I'll have to double check that. I'll put a link to the warranty information. Don't just quote what I said. Read that link for that information on the warranty. A lot of knives at this price range, you've got 1 year, and after that you're on your own. So this is already 5 times better than a huge number of knives out there. What kind of steel do we have here? Well, we have 14C28N Sandvik steel, Rockwell hardness of around 59. We've got a satin, well, not satin, Bead Blast finish, and it's a very fine Bead Blast finish. It feels very smooth to the touch. And I forgot to clean it before doing this video. I cut some things that were rather sticky, and that's why you can't see how super this edge is. From the factory, you can see the gleam when I move the knife back and forth. Let's make it focus in my hand here. Check that out. It's got a nice polish on the cutting edge, not just, you know, a traditional grind, but they've gone and they've polished the edge up a fair bit, and it cuts like nobody's business very, very well. What are we calling this? I'm calling this, some people are going to call this a reverse Tanto. I'm calling it a Wharncliffe because the blade is flat, and then you've got this clip off the end. Some people might want to call it a clip point, but basically it's a Wharncliffe knife. Some might call it a reverse Tanto. Maybe I said that already. Anyhow, it's a nice, nice knife. The spine starts getting thinner right about, you know, after a third of the way from the very end, and then it starts getting thinner and keeps going thinner to the tip. Full flat grind on here. Very, very well made blade that looks really great. You've got the equivalent of a sharpener's choil down here, so that when you go to sharpen it, you're not going to get up into the plunge there. Certainly you're not going to mess up the ricasso or anything. You know, you can sharpen it very easily. We've got a thumb stud that's right side only. I would have liked a knife that's right and left, ambidextrous on it. I am left-handed after all, so I notice those things quite a bit, although I'm just as good with my right hand with knives than I am with my left, but I grew up left-handed. We've got a thumb stud that actuates from the top, much more so than it does from the side. Let me give you a close-up of this thumb stud. And there's the side-on view. So the traction milled edges on it are at the top. So you've got access that's very, very tight tolerances right there. So your thumb comes on the top on that edge, and you're pushing out and over and just flies out very, very well. So we talked about those things. The handle scales, you've got recessed liners in there. They're made of 420 stainless steel. You saw them on the shot that I did of the inside. I like that they're recessed so that when you look at the handle scales, all you see is G10. Nice back spacer here, and I like how the back spacer comes all the way to the front here. Much better than when it just sort of comes halfway. I like either a really short back spacer or a full-size back spacer. I don't like those ones that go sort of halfway. This one's done very well. The fit and finish is awesome, and looks nice, feels good. Here's the pocket clip, and just like with the thumb stud, I wish the pocket clip was right and left, but it's right only. But it's a very deep carry pocket clip. Let's see what that looks like on a pocket. It goes on very well, all the way deep. Oh, I was sort of off screen there, sorry about that. Looks good, handles very well, good amount of grip. The retention is very good. Slides on easily, slides out easily, but not so easily that it's a problem at all. You know, it's just done very, very well. Before I talk about all the dimensions, let's take a look at the hardware. We've got a D-shaped pivot. That means it doesn't spin freely, and so they can make a smooth pivot on the show side, and then just use the Torx screw head on the other side. They couldn't do it on this side just because of the way the build is made. When you saw the picture on the inside, you see that you can take the G10 handle scales off, and then the liners are still screwed into each other without the G10. So instead of having these screws or this screw be the screw that holds everything together, there's two more screws, one there and one there, that hold the liners together. Very good design, very well laid out and figured out. Now let's do the dimensions of everything. We've got 8.77 centimeters, 3.45 inches of cutting edge. So a 3.5-inch knife. That's not even 2.5 ounces. Whoa! The blade length is 9.04 centimeters. That's 3.56 inches. The blade thickness, I got 3 millimeters. They're saying it's 3.1. 3 millimeters, 0.118. Ruike Knives, by the way, is one of the few companies where the measurements that they provide are very, very close to the measurements that I get. And I've got a high-end vernier caliper, electronic one, gives me very good measurements. My father was a machinist, and so I learned about the importance of good tools for measuring, because you measure wrong and your tools aren't gonna, or what you're building isn't going to work. So it's really important to measure really accurate down to the thousandths of an inch. And so I got some of his tools because he's retired now, and his caliper works great. And well, I was trying to say that Ruike Knives, on their website, when you look at their dimensions and stuff, they're very, very close. I measure everything myself anyways, because there's some manufacturers whose the dimensions can be way off. Like, I mean, over 1/8 of an inch off, sometimes up to 1/4 of an inch off. And that's just ridiculous. So I do measure everything. I did that. Now the handle depth and the blade depth, that's this measurement. So the handle depth and blade depth is exactly the same. 1.9 centimeters, 0.75 inches, and that's the greatest dimension right here, and it keeps going smaller on both ends. The thickness of the edge behind the grind is that thickness of the steel just after that final grind, 0.49 millimeters, which is 0.019 inches, and that's perfect. The target is to be 0.5 millimeter thick for a knife this size, and they're 0.49 millimeters. That's 0.5 millimeter, so very, very good there. Let's get on to the handle. The handle length is 11.43 centimeters. That's 4.5 inches. The grip area, I counted from that corner there to that corner, this corner here to this corner here. For the grip area, 10.5 centimeters, 4.14 inches. The handle thickness, not counting this pocket clip here, is 1.24 centimeters. That's 0.49 inches. 0.5 inch is a very good thickness. I already talked about the handle depth. The total length of this knife is 20.55 centimeters. That's 8.09 inches. 70 grams, 2.45 ounces. So we've got an 8-inch knife at 70 grams, not even 2.5 ounces. Can anybody else say awesome? And of the 3 knives that came out just now from Ruike Knives, this is the most budget of them all. $47.95 Canadian. Since I got this from RuikeKnives.ca, Ruike Canada sent this to me at a discounted price. If you convert the Canadian to American dollars, because you can buy Americans, you can buy directly from Ruike Canada, no problem at all. They'll ship it to you very easily. The US equivalent is $37.36 for this knife. Very, very good price. In euros, that's about 31.14, and in pounds sterling, that's about 27.44. So let's go over again, in case I missed something, all of the pros on this. The thumb stud design, I think, is awesome. I just wish it was on both sides. I like how you can, actuate it from the top. That's just great. The D pivot screw instead of the free spinning pivot screw, that's awesome. The weight to size ratio, is great. The blade to handle size ratio, awesome. The fit and finish, great. I would prefer a stone wash or a satin finish over Bead Blast, but the Bead Blast work that they did on this knife, it's just great. Very good, consistent Bead Blast, and it looks really, really good. The flat grind is perfect. This Wharncliffe tip, very, very good tip on here. Super sharp, great for doing all kinds of fine work. And, you know, for what it is, you know, being 14C28N, it's a fairly strong tip. Don't go jamming it into some hardwood and trying to twist to see how good it is. You will break the tip. Superb sharpening job on this knife. The little extra grip that they've put here on the liner lock to get that release just right every time. Perfect. Very well done. Ruike Knives has a tendency of doing an excellent job with liner lock releases here. The deep pocket clip I mentioned is great, and you can get a good solid grip on this knife. No matter how you hold it, you're getting a really good grip on this G10. It has that sort of peaked roof kind of style, so it's narrower at the edges, and at the middle it's thicker. Let's see if we can get it to focus here. It's hard to show it when you've got something black, but you can see how it raises up and then it comes back down on both sides. And just the finish on this G10, there's a little bit of texture on it, just enough that you've got a really good solid grip. And you know, any grip you hold this with, it's quite solid. Now, if you did, you know, stab into something and you came to a dead sudden stop, your hand might go over the blade. You know, that's just something that can happen. So be careful if you're doing these stabbing motions. It's something that you want to avoid anyways, because you can break knives that way. You know, unless you just have to. You know, you do what you have to do, right? Now, what are some of the cons on here? Well, some people are going to say that they wish that this liner lock was thicker. Oh, I should show you pictures of it. I'll show you the picture of the lockup. Lockup is, you know, almost exactly where you want a brand new knife to be. Because of the way they've done the jimping and stuff on the side of this liner lock, it looks thinner than it is, but it is a fairly thin liner lock. You know, it isn't super thick. I think it's totally adequate for this knife. For a bigger, heavier knife, you'd want, you know, a heavier liner, but for what this is, I think it's totally fine with the liner lock that you have. By the way, the stop pin's right back here, and it's also a totally adequate stop pin. So yeah, some people are going to want a thicker liner lock. Some people are going to want a pocket clip on both sides. Some people are going to want thumb studs on both sides. And that's the degree of the cons for this thing. It's not significant at all. For the price that you're paying for this knife is an awesome knife, a very good deal. If you're going to buy one of these knives, please buy it from RuikeKnives.ca. They're the company that they let me have these knives at a very good discount. So if you can do me the honor of, you know, purchasing from them, I would appreciate that very much. I really do hope that they take this knife back to the design house and make a flipper version of this knife. That would be the next thing to do. That'd be really, really good. I love this knife. It's a great knife. Works good, looks good, carries good. I'm not upset at all that there's no ball bearings. It doesn't need it. You know, good washers are a great thing, and it's all that you need. Some people might want to see some cut tests. It cuts very, very well. No problems at all. I've got some rope here, and this is manila rope. Just cuts through that very, very easily. And this is tough rope to cut. And that's special thanks to this cutting edge that they've made a very good finish of. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Tomorrow or later on tonight, I'm going to do the draw for whichever knife you guys are going to win, and I'll let you guys know. Thank you to everybody else who supports this channel, either by just giving a thumbs up, leaving a comment, and I will try to get into the comments this week. Next week, the second weekend of April, May 12th, my son's getting married. So for several days before and several days after that, I'm going to be super busy. I've got family coming from out of the province. We're going to be very busy here. So my Canadian Cutting Edge and Goods, Gadgets, and Gear channels are going to be on a break of up to a week. So just prepare for that so you don't think I've kicked the bucket or something. Thanks for watching again. Liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. Remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.